Snow swept across the desolate Dakota station, the wind howling like a wounded animal. Clara Whitmore sat alone on a splintered bench, her nurse's coat threadbare, her fingers stiff around a worn leather case. The last train had thundered past without stopping, its whistle fading into the white void. She had nowhere left to go, no one waiting, and the cold bit deeper than any wound she had tended in war. Her breath came in trembling clouds. "Guess this is where my story ends," she whispered, her voice breaking. Then hooves. Slow at first, then steady, cutting through the storm. A dark horse emerged from the swirling snow, its rider tall, broad-shouldered, wrapped in a long coat dusted with frost. He dismounted with practiced grace, his spurs jingling softly. "Well now," he drawled, his tone rough but edged with humor. "Seems the storm's got worse manners than I do." Clara tried to stand, but her legs buckled. The stranger caught her before she fell, the warmth of his arms shocking against her frozen skin. "Easy, ma'am," he murmured, pulling his coat around her trembling form. "You ain't dyin' tonight." Her eyes fluttered shut, the last thing she felt, a heartbeat steady as salvation. Clara awoke beneath a quilt softer than clouds, the scent of pine smoke drifting through the room. For a heartbeat she thought she was dead, until the ache in her limbs reminded her otherwise. The man from the storm stood by the hearth, his burned hand wrapped in linen, watching her with cautious curiosity. "Name's Eli Mercer," he said. "You near froze clean through." His voice carried a gentleness that didn't quite fit the steel in his posture. She thanked him quietly, eyes scanning the lavish yet hollow room. Polished wood, no laughter, no warmth beyond the fire. He noticed her glance. "Used to be a home," he muttered, "till the world took more than I could give." The silence that followed felt heavy with ghosts. Days passed, and Clara found her strength tending to his injured horses, her steady hands earning nods from skeptical ranch hands. One night, thunder cracked, and she rushed out to secure the stables, rain drenching her skirts. Eli found her struggling with the gate, hair plastered to her face, defiance burning in her eyes. "You can't fight the sky," he shouted. She smiled through the downpour. "Neither can you." Lightning flashed and something unspoken passed between them. Fragile but alive. Winter loosened its grip, but the tension in the house grew thicker than smoke. Clara's laughter now echoed through halls once silent, though Eli tried not to notice how it softened his edges. One afternoon, a telegram arrived, creased, urgent, and heavy with truth. Clara's hands trembled as she read. The color drained from her face. Eli caught her eyes, demanding honesty she could no longer hide. "They're looking for me," she confessed. "A railroad tycoon wants revenge. I exposed his theft during the war." The words hit harder than a bullet. Before Eli could speak, the sound of horses cut through the air. Two strangers rode up, rifles glinting. Bounty hunters. Eli's instincts flared. He shoved Clara behind the door. Gunfire erupted, sharp and merciless. He returned fire with steady precision, a man defending not just a life, but redemption itself. When the smoke cleared, one hunter fled, the other lay disarmed. Blood spread across Eli's shoulder, staining his shirt. Clara dropped beside him, pressing her hands against the wound, tears mixing with rain. "You fool," she whispered. "Why risk everything?" He smiled weakly. "Because you're the only thing worth losing it for." Her heart twisted. Too late to run, too deep to turn back. Spring came early that year, as if the land itself refused to let their story end in winter. Eli healed slowly, his scar a reminder of how close he'd come to losing everything. Clara stayed by his side, her hand steady, her laughter now woven into the rhythm of the ranch. Together they rebuilt what grief had hollowed out: barns, trust, and a quiet kind of hope. Travelers began to visit, drawn by whispers of the nurse who defied the cold and the cowboy who stood between her and death. Newspapers called it the love that melted Dakota, though Clara only smiled at the name. One evening, she found Eli watching the sunset from the porch. "You ever regret saving me?" she asked softly. He tipped his hat, eyes glinting gold in the dying light. "Not for a second, darlin'." "You brought the fire back." Snow began to fall again, gentle this time, as if blessing what the storm once tried to take. They stood together, hand in hand, facing the horizon that had once divided them. Somewhere in that silence their story became legend, a reminder that sometimes love doesn't arrive on time. It arrives when your soul's about to freeze.